Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me reviewing a board game, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Shores of Tripoli, or Shores of Chipotle if you're hanging out with my friend group, but the Shores of Tripoli, and this is a game where, yeah, actually, we'll talk about it. This is a game where basically you're just 1v1, trying to be better than the person you're playing against and trying to win, meet your win conditions, but let me go and get our background music started before I forget. And let's get started here. So let's switch our camera over to our main view and let me clean up all this mess. So as far as the Shores of Tripoli, this game is a competitive game where your entire goal is to win. I mean, I guess that's just about any other game that's competitive. But your entire goal is to win by meeting your victory conditions, and the victory conditions are a little bit different for each side. It is asymmetrical for sure, and ultimately, whoever can meet their win condition wins the game. That's, I don't know, I feel like I just said the same thing 10 times. Clearly not distracted here. So let's go ahead and just talk about the overview. So there's going to be two different sides. There's going to be the U.S. side, or the U.S. Marine side, and then there's going to be the Tripoli and the Barbary Pirates folks, or the Pirates of Tripoli. So the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps, and then the Pirates of Tripoli. I'm going to be showing the Automa side of things. So I did a playthrough. Feel free to go check that out. It took me a little bit to kind of get through a playthrough, but I'll explain why later. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and set up the Automa, make sure that they're set up properly. And we'll go ahead and explain what we're looking at here. So what we have is we have our map here. In our map, we have our different ships that are placed. So we have Corsairs here for the Tripolian player, the red player. We also have their ally spots, which are right here, the orange spots, and the blue spots are here for the U.S. The U.S. controls or has those spots. The U.S. has their own frigates, their own big ships, and the Corsairs, the small ships for the red player or the Tripolian player, they are there as well. Additionally, you have the ability to get some additional ships here for the U.S. and for the allies for the U.S., which are the Swedes. So the Swedes can join us and help us out. We also have for the Tripolian player, they have the potential to possibly get bigger ships too, but they have allies in the form of the orange ships that can come out from Tunis, Algeria, and Tangier, and I'm assuming I pronounced those correctly, but my apologies. I'm still gonna make an attempt for sure, but you know, probably butcher it. And both of us are gonna have our own individual decks of cards, which are gonna have very specific things that are useful for us, that are helpful for us. Things that give us things like, hey, take money for free or do these things. And you'll see those as we go along, but it's always the same deck. And then for the Automa, they're gonna essentially follow the same flow. Now for the Automa, there's gonna be a few extra cards that are added in here, 3 extra cards that are added in here. And then additionally, they're gonna play kind of in a conveyor belt style that you see set up here, because we have to control the logic of the bots. But we'll explain more of that once we get to it. For now, let me go ahead and go over the flow of play, the way things flow when you play the game. There you go, that's what I was trying to say. The way things flow is that essentially there's going to be, both sides are going to play one turn and then we're going to move to the next season. And then after that's done, once you do 4 turns, you're going to move to the next year and then continue on as you go. So starting off with the US player, they will always go first every round and every turn. So they will go first, they'll play a card from their hand, or they'll play one of their core cards. I'll explain the difference between that later. And once they play a card from their hand, they'll do whatever the card says or do whatever the default action is that they're trying to do. And after they're done, then the Tripolian player, they're gonna go ahead and play a card from their hand, or they're gonna discard a card to do the default action, whatever that is. And then once that's done, we're gonna move to the next season, and then it's gonna be back to the US player. They're gonna do the same thing, next season, they're going to do their thing. They're going to do their thing over here on the Tripolian player side next season. And once we're on the 4th month, then once the Tripolian player is done with their turn, we're going to go back to spring, move to the next year, gain any ships that are here. For the U.S. player, going to go to Gibraltar. For the Tripolian player, if they have any ships here, they're going to go to Tripoli directly. And then we continue play as we go along. Now, one of the aspects of this game is that you're always playing cards, but you have a hand limit. So at the top of the round, and I'll demonstrate this live here very shortly, I promise, you'll draw 6 cards, but your hand limit is 8 cards. So you draw 6 cards, and if you have more than 8 cards in your hand, you got to discard down to 8 cards, and then you can start playing your cards and doing your actions like normal from there. For the Automa, clearly the Automa plays a little bit differently, but we'll explain more of that as we go. But for now, let's go ahead and just start walking through just kind of a rolling teach, because it's a little bit easier to show and teach at the same time than it is to just front load and info dump. So, which we'll still do, but don't worry. All right. Oh, sorry. Additionally, before we do that, I do need to explain the location. So there are 14 different spots that you can place stuff. So those 14 different spots are the patrol zones here, which are these white border areas. And then there are the ports themselves, which are these circles here. So the 14 spots, if we count them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 different spots I can send ships and you can do stuff with. The US player is going to be sending their ships to kind of do stuff. The Tripolian player is going to be defending and not moving their ships, not moving any ships, except for doing pirate raids. And again, we'll get to that when we get to that. But for right now, just know that for the US player, I can choose to move my ships. And if I say I want to move my ships from here and I want to go over to Alexandria, I would just literally just teleport them over as one of my actions for the move, or as one of my movements for when I'm allowed to move ships. So there's no like, go here for 2 days and then go here for 3 turns and then go here for 4 turns. No, it's none of that. It's just go straight there, do your thing, and move on. So that's kind of explaining the board, explaining a little bit of the design language. Another thing to note is that anytime that there's ships that coexist in a spot, there's going to be a naval battle or some kind of fighting, except for Gibraltar. Gibraltar's port, which is a circle here, Gibraltar's port is special. There's no fighting here. But if I send my ships over into Tripoli, we're going to have a naval battle and do some other stuff. If I send my boats over here to Benghazi, we're going to have a bombardment, or depending on what happens, if they have other ships there. And there's different things that can happen. It just depends on where you're at and what's happening, or what the stakes are for things. Or sorry, it depends on what's placed there, what's facing each other, and what the situation is. There you go. But otherwise, I can send my ships and just hang out over here in the port if I wanted to, and nothing happens. So that's all that you need to know. So let's go and get into the movement and get into the play of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 6 cards. So let me get this another shuffle here. Make sure we're getting nice and randomized examples. None of this preset nonsense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the Automa does not have a hand of cards. There's nothing to manage for them. They'll draw from the top of the deck if they need to draw, but they have their own logic that we'll talk about once we get to their turn. So I'll go ahead and zoom in so we can take a look at some of the language on the cards. So the cards are pretty wordy. But the main thing to note is that this is my initial hand of 6 cards, and the thing to note in the cards is that there's a few pieces of key information. 1 is going to be the name of the card, 2 is going to be a nice little photo, 3 is going to be text explaining what the card does, and then 4, if the card is a discard card or a special card, it'll say some text down here. So for instance, this is a battle card, so it can be played during a battle, which an interception roll is considered a battle, and then you can discard the card. I guess interception is considered battle. Don't quote me on that. Check the rulebook. Looking at this one of the Daring Stephen Decatur, the Daring Stephen Decatur, we have here, there's some special text here, and then it says it's a battle card as well. Discard after playing this card. Another thing to note is that there's sometimes text in italices here. And this text in italices essentially means that there are other cards in the game that have that name. Those are named cards, and whenever that card's played, I can place the Daring Stephen Decatur, and that'll allow me to get whatever the effect is that it says here. So these are the different cards that I have. Nice art, nice historical looking art there, and some other stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and, where's my hair? We're gonna go ahead and zoom out and get through playing. So I'm gonna go ahead and play through basically the first year, explaining as I go, and then once I'm done kind of showing a few like sample rounds and doing a demo of how the game flows, then I'll finally get to my review, talk about things that I like, things I don't like, and then my overall rating of the game and all that fun stuff. So starting off as a US player, I'm going to go ahead and play a card. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and play Corsairs Confiscated. So when I play a card, this card is a instant card, and it says if played as an event, which I'm playing it as an event, this card is removed from the game. So it's the one and done. This card says Corsairs Confiscated. Playable if there are Tripolian Corsairs in the harbor of Gibraltar. There are. Return all of the Corsairs from the harbor to the supply and remove the Maraud Raids Breakout card from the game. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. And we're going to remove these to the supply. And then we're going to take this card, which is the Maraud Raids Breaks Out, which is one of the core cards, the starter cards. I didn't explain this earlier, but both players are going to have a set of core cards, 3 cards each. And these core cards are always going to be in front of you, so you can choose to play those instead of discarding a card from your hand to play. That's just a part of the game. So I'm basically killing one of the opponent's core cards. So it goes out of the game forever, and that's it. So my turn's done. Now we go over to the Tripolian player. The Tripolian player, they're going to try to play their cards, and I will show for them here. They're going to try to follow a conveyor style for their events. This is their events section right here. and they're going to try to play this event card. There's no event card. I just threw it away. That card was going to allow them to basically move their boats, or tell them to move their boats from Gibraltar over to Tripoli. But because I confiscated those boats and I killed that card, they can't do that. They're going to try to do this one, Constantinople sends aid. Now, some cards are only playable when the text is applicable. So in this case, the text does not apply because my army has not captured Dern yet. So therefore, they cannot play this card. So now the Ottoman is going to try to play this card. This one's Yusuf Kalaminli. Always say that backwards. Karaminli. I remember it has like the pronunciation of like Quran in the beginning. That's all I remember. Like Karaminli. Sure. Yusuf, that's what I said. We're going to do a pirate raid with the Corsairs from the harbor of Tripoli and the Corsairs from the harbor of each active ally, Algiers, Tangier, and Tunis. So in this case, we will consult the back of the rulebook, which has a very handy guide for solitary play card requirements. And the Ottoman is going to follow some logic that's called out here. So for this card, for Yusuf, we will only play this card in 1801 through 1804, and we'll only play if 2 allies are active. Currently 0 allies are active, so therefore we're not going to play it. And then from 1508 to 1506, we're going to play this if 1 ally is active. Like I said, currently it's 0, and we're not in that year range, so therefore they're not going to play this card. So they're not going to play this card. So instead, we're going to move over to the 5 Corsair check, which is the next card. The 5 Corsair check, it says, if there are 5 or more Corsairs in the harbor of Tripoli, Tripoli performs a pirate raid. Do not discard this card. So they're going to do that. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I should have mentioned before, this is the initial startup for a 2-player game with the two enemy boats, the 2 Tripolian boats here, the 3 frigates here, and these boats placed there like so, and everything else in supply, and all the cubes where they are. Except for the normal game, there will be 4 boats starting here. But for the Ottoman, we start with 5 boats there. That's like the biggest difference for setup. I just want to explain that part. All right, continuing on. They're going to go ahead and do a raid because there are 5 boats. There are 5 Corsairs. So they're going to perform a raid. So how a raid works is essentially they're going to take all their boats. They're going to drive or sail out into the sea like so. And then they're going to go and capture. They're going to do pirate things in the sea, in the open sea. So there are invisible merchants trading back and forth, doing commerce back and forth throughout this entire sea. And what the pirates are doing is they're intercepting them, they're trying to steal them, they're trying to plunder and steal all their gold and steal all their money. In the US, we don't like that. So we have 12 merchants, $12. I don't know what the representation is, the scale, but we had $12 here. And every time the Tripolian player successfully raids something, successfully pirates, they will take 1 coin from our coffers. And the way that works is essentially they're doing a pirate raid right now. They're going to roll 1 die for every Corsair that's out there, so 5 dice total. And on 5s and 6s, they will take a coin from me. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and do the roll. So a lot of dice rolling in this game, by the way. And we're going to roll. And any 5s or 6s, they claim a gold. So this is 2 hits, so they do get 2 gold. And they need 12. So did I mention the win conditions? I didn't mention the win conditions. Sorry. Let me talk about the in-game conditions. I forgot about that. The in-game conditions for the Tripolian player are to either get 12 coins from me, so either take 12 coins and hold on to 12 coins. If they do, they win the game immediately, or to win the last fight here in Tripoli, which is a big battle that can happen, that will happen at some point. There's also another win condition for them, which is if they sink 4 of my frigates, they will also win the game too. So there's a super secret 3rd win condition for them. So that means that the US player can't be too frivolous with their boats. I have to be very careful with that. Moving on to the US player, their win conditions are to either have a peace treaty signed or to take over Tripoli. So the way you have a peace treaty signed is there's a specific card that says that there has to be no enemy boats. There has to be no allied boats to Tripoli in any of these spots. And the army of the US has to have taken Dern, and there has to be no frigates in Tripoli for the enemy, which is really hard to do. So that's 1 win condition. The 2nd win condition is for the US player to invade and successfully assault Tripoli and then win that fight. So those are the 2 win conditions from the US player. There's literally 2 cards, and it's like one of our 2 ways to win. So I got a tall hill to climb here to get there. Okay, cool. Now that we talked about all that, we finished our turn here for the Tripolian players. The Tripolian player, they're going to go ahead and play this, our Tripolian player, they're going to go ahead and play this Happy Hunting card. So the way the Automa works is they're essentially, every time a battle happens, they'll check this entire row. If anything applies, they'll play those immediately. So for here, Happy Hunting, playable when making a pirate raid. The Tripolian Corsairs roll 3 additional die. And that says here on the back of the rulebook, just to clarify, we will play Happy Hunting on the first pirate raid that they do. So we need to roll 3 extra dice. And they got no successes on that, but this card is now played and it's out of the game forever. Now we're going to do Merchant Ship Converted, playable if Tripolian pirate raid has just been successful. Place 1 Tripolian Corsair in the harbor of Tripoli. So these guys are all going to come back home, like so, and just going to chill out there. So now they have 6 Corsairs, and this card is going to go out of the game forever. And that card, according to the back of the rulebook here, that card is played on the first successful Tripolian pirate raid, which the first one was successful because they successfully got gold from me. And that's it. So the Automa is now done. T-Bot is done. Now we move on to the next turn. Notice that T-Bot has no hand, and they will never reshuffle their deck. So I'm just going to give it a good shuffle here to make sure I get some good luck for me, hopefully, not for them. But they'll never shuffle their discard back into their deck. The players will over here on our side, but the Automa doesn't. All right, moving on to the next turn here. I can play another card. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and play Early Deployment. Early Deployment says take 1 American frigate from the following year of that year's turn track and place it into the Naval Patrol Zone. Place into any Naval Patrol Zone. So I'm going to go ahead and discard that card face up to show my opponent that I'm playing that card. I get the effect. And then I'm going to take this card, or this ship from here, and I can put it in any Naval Patrol Zone. I'm going to put it right there. Smack dab in the middle, right there. All right, that's it. My turn's over. Over to the Automa. The Automa, they're going to go ahead and do a Corsair check because they can't do this one. They can't do that one. They're going to do a 5 Corsair check. They have at least 5 Corsairs. They're going to raid from here. They're going to raid with 6. Now, what's going to happen in a raid, and I'm going to show this visually so we can see it, is that, again, the pirates, they're going to go from here into the patrol zone. When they go into the patrol zone, when they cross into the patrol zone, what happens is I get the chance to intercept. So I will roll some dice to attack them, and then they'll continue about their pirating and come back without any more harassment from me. But I get a chance to kind of take them out before they get out into the water. So for every frigate that I get 2 dice. For every Corsair, every gunboat that I have, I get 1 die. Gunboats cannot be in patrol zones. Gunboats can only go to attack ports and do all that fun stuff, bombardment. So right now I just roll 2 dice. And any 6s I roll will kill. So 6s kill, I roll 2 3s, that's not a 6. So therefore, that's it. Now the pirates are going to continue out. They're going to do their pirate raid. They're going to roll 6. So 2, 4, 6 dice. 5s and 6s will get them gold. And they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oof. That's 5 gold. That's crazy. All right, well, they get a ton of gold. This is going to be a quick demo. They are well on their way to victory here. They are almost there. I need to get my butt in gear, huh? All right, so that's it. And they finish their raid again. They return from the open seas. They don't have to deal with another interception. They just go straight back. And that's it. These cubes here, these are infantry units. These are troops that are on the ground. They don't go in the water. They don't do pirating. They'll be there for later whenever I have to send my troops in to fight them. Because it'll be basically a roll-off between cubes, dice. Cubes, 1 cube is 1 die, essentially, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now we're over into the fall. I got a lot of work to do, so I'm going to go ahead and do naval movements. I'm going to play naval movement, move up to 4 of my ships, and resolve any battles. So I'll move these 3 right there. I want to make sure that I kind of lock that down. So we're done. Now we're back over to the Automa. They're going to go ahead and do another send out for pirating because they have no care in the world. They got 6. I got 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm going to roll 8 dice. It should be 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. 6 is kill. So we got 3 kills. Perfect. I like that. So we took out 3 of their ships. So now they'll roll 3 dice, and they'll pirate on 3 dice. And they get 1 successful, so they steal 1 gold. Man, they're already at 8 this early in the game. That's crazy. And that's it. So now I move over into the winter. We're on the final turn here for the round. I'm going to go ahead and discard a card face down. So when you discard a card face down, Discard this one face down. What's going to happen is that I'm going to choose to do one of my default actions. My 2 default actions for the US player are to either move 2 of my ships, to just move them around to where I want to, or to build a gunboat. Those are my 2 actions as a US player. I can either move 2 ships or I can put a gunboat. Now earlier you'll notice that I did a movement, I did a naval movement. I moved my ships, but that's because I played this card face up, which allowed me to move up to 4 of my boats and then resolve any battles. If I had any battles, I didn't. So in this case, I'm just gonna build a gunboat because I think I got my ships where I want them, and we're done. Back over to the Tripolian player. The Tripolian player, they do not have enough for their 5 Corsair check, so they'll instead draw cards. They're gonna draw a card, and this card says troops to Dern. So it says playable if Harman's army has not captured Dern. That's correct, I have not captured Dern yet. Place 2 Tripolian infantry units in the city of Dern. So I'm gonna put 2 troops there. It's gonna make it harder for me to take that over later, to invade, and that's it. So now we're done with the first year, so we move on to the next year. If I had ships here, I would get the ships in Gibraltar, but of course I pulled them earlier. And now what's gonna happen is I'm going to draw 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're gonna check, see how many cards I have. I should have 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I have 8 cards in my hand, so therefore my max hand size is 8. I'm good. So now we go into our turns. The Ottoman, they're not going to draw any cards, but now I get to do my turn here. So I am going to do. This is rough. I'm going to do Congress authorizes action. It's an event immediate remove from the game card. So I'm going to play this card, and it allows me to place 2 American frigates in the following year on the turn track. So that means I'm going to have 2 more ships. So in 1803, I'm going to have a ton of ships. So I'm done. Over to the Ottoman. The Ottoman, they're going to draw a card because they cannot do the 5 Corsair check. They'll do repair and build, or sorry, raid or build, depending on what the action card comes up says. And we'll flip this. It says Algiers declares war. Oof. Place 3 Algerian Corsairs in the harbor of Algiers. Now, the way this works is, again, on the back of the rulebook, it has explanation for what the bot should do for each of these. Whenever the cards declare war, we'll play those cards immediately, which is what we're doing. So, this card goes out of the game. We're gonna put 3 Corsairs in Algiers. So now the Ottoman can choose to raid from there, if they so desire. Okay, so in the summer, back over to me. This is tough. This is tough. I don't have any cards to help me out with that one, do I? All right, let's go and do a naval battle. So I'm going to do some naval movement. Move up to 4 American frigates. Resolve any battles that are result. We're going to do 1, 2, 3. We're going to move all 4. We're going to go in here and do a nice little battle. We're going to go into the port, the harbor, and we're going to bring in our gunboat as well because we're moving into a harbor. And now we're going to have a naval battle. So the way naval battles work is essentially it's going to be dice versus dice. And let's see, do I have any? No, I don't have any battle cards to help me out. It's going to be battle. So we're going to do port versus port. Actually, hold on. Before we do that, that's not responsible. 1 second. Let me undo that. I'm not doing the thing I just said I was going to do. Instead, I'm going to play Swedish frigates arrive. We're going to play that, and that's going to bring the Swedes out, and they're going to help me out. And then I'm going to do that, so that way I don't leave myself defenseless. Okay, we're done. So that was our turn. Our turn was not to move our boats. Our turn was instead to call the Swedes out to help out. Now the Ottoman's going to go. They do not have 5 or more Corsairs in the harbor Tripoli, so therefore they don't do that. They're going to draw a card, and the card is Sweden pays tribute. Oh my gosh. Oh wait, no, sorry. This is playable if it's 1803. It is not 1803. So the cards do have text on them that's pretty specific. So I'll zoom in on this so we can take a peek at it. The cards will a lot of times say playable if certain time period. It is not that time period, so they cannot play right now. Thank goodness. So this card is instead going to be discarded here, and let's see what the Ottoman does when they get that. It says Sweden pays tribute. Play if it's 1803. It is not 1803, so therefore they will do. It doesn't say anything else. It's just play if it's 1803. It's not 1803. So therefore, we're just going to do a raid or build. That's how I'm going to read that. It doesn't say draw another card or anything else. It says play if, and it's not. So we're going to do raid or build. Raid or build, it says if the harbor of Algiers, Tunis, or Tripoli has at least 3 Corsairs, and more Corsairs and American frigates in the corresponding naval patrol zones, they raid. So they're going to raid from Algiers. So they're going to raid from here. So those three are going to go on behalf of the Tripolian player and try to take money. And 5s or 6s will do it. They get 1. So they steal 1 gold. They're getting there. I don't like it. They're getting there. All right, so now I'll do naval movement. So now I'll play naval movement, and I'll move my 4 boats right there, and we're gonna go into the harbor, and we're gonna talk to them. So now we're gonna do a naval battle. So naval combat is pretty straightforward. Essentially, our ships are gonna shoot each other, and I think we just do 1 wave of shooting, or is it until the death? Let me check. Let me double check. It's pretty straightforward, but let me check just to make sure. Yeah, so it's 1 wave of shooting. So we're essentially going to do shooting. So every single one of these frigates are going to roll 2 dice. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and this gunboat's going to roll 1, so 9. I get to roll 9 dice. So it should be 8 plus 1 is 9. And then for the Automa, they're going to roll 1, 2, 3, 3 dice for that. And 6 is kill. Oh, naval battle card. No, so the Automa does not have any. Oh, they do. Playable if a naval battle in the harbor Tripoli. Okay, no, they don't. So they're not going to play any cards. I have no cards for naval battles, so we're going to roll. And 6 is kill, so I get 1 kill. And that's it. All right, so that's done. And what's going to happen is all of my boats that are here that are surviving, they're going to go right on back to Malta. This is Malta's where we get refueled and repaired and all that fun stuff. So we're going to go right back to Malta. And I have to send them back later if I'm going to go do some more stuff. But that's pretty much it for my turn. Little underwhelming, but it's fine. So next, the Automa, they're going to end up drawing a card. So this is going to be Sunni raid, Sunni Corsairs raid. Sunnis? Two Sunnis. Oh, is it supposed to be Sunni? No. Man, I've been pronouncing that wrong this whole time. Anyway, Sunni Corsairs raid. Pirate raids with all Corsairs from the harbor as soon as, or Sunni. So in this case, they would raid from here, but they can't. So instead, we're going to look at the back of the rulebook. The back of the rulebook says, anytime there's a raid card played, discard to perform a raid or build action. And then please note that this could allow them to raid from other places. So if a location has at least 3 Corsairs or more, and it has more Corsairs than American or Swedish frigates in the naval patrol zone, raid from that harbor. So in this particular case, they will raid from here. So they will raid from here because they have at least 3, yes, and they have more than what we have in the patrol zone. So therefore, they're going to send these raid out. We're going to shoot 4. So we kill on 6s. We got 1 kill, nice. And now they're going to raid, and they're going to roll 2 for their raid. And they capture on 5s and 6s, and they got another one. Man, they're so close to winning. I don't like this. I don't like how close they are to winning in this demo that I'm supposed to be doing. All right, so that's it. Now we're going to go back over to us. Let's see. We'll finish out this last one because we only got 1 more card to play. So let's see. Let's go and try to... I can't even do any of these, can I? I have no really good cards to play, so instead I'm going to discard this card face down, and I'm going to move my boats. I'm going to move 1 boat here, 1 boat there, and I'm going to call it that. Now we're going to move over to the Automa side. They're going to draw a card, and this one says Pirate Raid with all Corsairs from the harbor of Algiers. So in this case, they're going to do a raid or build, and the raid or build says if they have at least 3 Corsairs, they don't. Then they're going to raid. They do not. So therefore, they're just going to build a boat instead. They're going to build a Corsair right there, and that's it. So now we are on to the big year. Look at that. Boom, look at all them boats. And I'll draw 6. 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 cards left. How? Oh, no, yeah, that's right. So I'm going to draw 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we continue playing over and over and over. Now, I didn't get to the in-game side of things, but the in-game side of things changes a lot because I do need to eventually deploy my army. I need to create Hamet's army in Alexandria, and then from there, I need to send them over to Dern, which is a specific card, and then I need to send them from Dern to Benghazi, which is a specific card that I have to play eventually, and then eventually I need to attack Tripoli, but my army has to be at Benghazi to do so. So there's a few extra steps that you won't see here. Feel free to watch my playthrough to see how I did and to see if I was able to actually make it that far. Judging by how this is going, which is a mirror image of some other things, you may not see those things. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it for you. But that's going to be pretty much it for the demo here. So let's go and talk about the game, talk about things that I like, things that I didn't like, and then I'll give my overall review at the end of all this. So as far as this game goes, this game, I think Time Roller mentioned before in the Twitch chat, I do live stream here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/CulBlu. That's CulBlu. Feel free to check me out there if you want to see me do these live. But Time Roller mentioned in the chat that I had mentioned in a previous video that this game is a warlike game, but it's not quite a chits and bits game. And the reason why is because you don't really have chits or bits. You have like tokens and cards, and you could very easily make all these tokens chits and like, you know, just giant squares and stuff, but they decided to go for wooden bits, which I appreciate a little bit more. And it also makes the game a little bit more approachable, in my opinion. I mean, it's not that hard to like just put the cardboard here and deal with it and look at it, but it just makes like visually cool looking, I suppose. Especially if you have your boats kind of standing up instead of laying down like I do because I'm recording overhead. But the main thing I'm trying to say is that, yes, this game is very much a war game. It has the war game blood in it, but it is also a very simple and straightforward game. I'm mentioning this in the pro side of things because I'm surprised at how like straightforward and simple this game is. It is very much a, you know, play your cards. Your card says do a thing, do the thing. If you can't do the thing, then don't do the thing. And that's pretty much it. The question of when do you do what and how and why, those are really where the meat of the game is. And sometimes you're reacting to what your opponent's doing. Sometimes your opponent's taking a lot of risks and they're getting a lot of reward, like this situation. Sometimes your opponent's playing a lot more passively, so you can kind of focus on some other strategies. And sometimes you need to be the aggressor in this game. You need to build out those gunboats if you really want to have those extra die to help you out later in the game. You need to kind of move your ships in places that make sense. You can even preemptively keep your ships parked inside of all these harbors, so that way when the opponent does decide to play a card for making the allies show up in Tangier, you get a free battle, so you don't have to waste your movements. And it just kind of makes it a very interesting, like, overall puzzle from the perspective of the U.S. player. From the perspective of the Tripolian player, same concept. You got to decide, okay, do I go full-on defensive mode? How often do I send out my raids? Do I take the risk, like this in this situation? I'm sending out 3 boats versus 6 dice of rolling that can possibly kill me. You can do statistics in your mind, but it just boils down to, do I think I can survive and get away with it? Because you only got 2 more. Like, if I was honest, if I were playing the Tripolian player, I would take as many risks as I possibly could because that's a lot of pressure already. Or if you can get that card that just gives you, oh, well, they couldn't play it. But if you can wait until 1803, which is currently that time period, you can hold onto that card and play it now and just win the game immediately. I mean, there's so many different ways to kind of get to a victory condition for both players. Actually, for the Tripolian player, for sure. For the U.S. player, there are a lot of ways to get to victory condition, but you just have to think about a lot more. And I think it just makes it a really cool, like, this is a simple, straightforward game with a lot of depth. Like, it's surface level, very shallow, but depth-wise, you can get like strategy-wise, you can get very deep is what I was trying to say. So surface level, very simple mechanically, you're just kind of moving boats around, playing cards, and that's it. But from a strategy perspective, you have a lot of depth that ends up existing because of what cards you have. Do you want to take the risk of holding onto this card for later? Do you want to go ahead and play this now and maybe get the immediate effect as opposed to getting a better effect later? Like for instance, in round 1, I played my card that lets me move 3 of my boats, but I can 4 of my boats, but I only had 3 boats. I could have waited until I had 4, my 4th boat, and then I could move like a bunch more. But I really needed to move my ships around, and when I decided to do so, I think it worked out overall. I mean, they have $10 out of the 12 they need, so not looking too hot for me now. But there's also ways to kind of come back from that and claw your way back in. There are some cards in both decks. Like again, the Tripolian player has a Swedish card where they can basically just get 2 free gold after 1803. And that feels kind of rough. It's like, that's unfair. You play 1 card, you win the game. That's not fair. But on the other hand, on the US side, they have the ability to potentially get the Tripolian player to give them $8 back. And the way that works is that there's a card in here in their deck, which I didn't draw, but essentially says, Constantinople demands tribute, where essentially says that the Tripolian player just gives $2 back. And then there's another card, which is, which I have in my hand, which essentially allows you to take a card from the American discard pile and either play it again or add it back to your hand. So you can play this, force them to give you back 2 coins, and then play this, and then force them to give you 2 more coins. And then when you reshuffle, because you will reshuffle at least once in this game, you can possibly play this again, make them give you back 2 coins, and then play this again, make them give you back 2 coins. So if you're trying to be very defensive and claw your way back, you could, but it just kind of really depends on how the cards show up. Do you want to risk? Because like every single time I'm forcing them to give me 2 coins back, I'm not attacking their locations. I'm not sending my army out. I'm not moving my ships around to where they can be more advantageous. I'm not building gunboats. And it just kind of balances out to like, okay, I can do this to get all these coins back, but I also need to like do these things to get my other victory conditions going. So I think overall it just makes it a really fun like puzzle overall. And like this whole entire point that I'm making is that there's a lot of depth in such a small amount of space. And I appreciate that it's the same small amount of space, which is also going to come up in the cons, don't get me wrong. But you kind of have the same cards. So once you have knowledge of what your opponent could do or what your opponent could be possibly playing or what they might be positioning for, you can try to counter that with your play. You can try to position yourself to be more advantageous, and then you kind of have this arms race of like, oh, I see that you're trying to build up a bunch of troops here, so therefore I'm just going to go ahead and try to win the game by getting the peace treaty victory for the U.S. where I don't have to fight you here, or I see that you're trying to build all your people out and trying to spread them out evenly across all of your allied locations. So I'm just going to go ahead and march my army in as fast as possible. So that way you don't have enough time to react and reinforce your Tripoli area to defend yourself. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, a lot of cool decision space that exists with this, and especially in a 2-player game where both sides have, I don't want to say they have an even chance of winning. I think I agree with the forums, because I did read some of the forum posts, that the U.S. player has the I don't want to say easier time. The U.S. player has a higher chance of winning over the long scope of things from my perspective, from how I see the game, because as long as the U.S. player can like maybe get 2 gold back, they'll have probably enough space and time to send their army in and attack Tripoli before the Tripolian player can survive that. And as long as the U.S. player has enough of their bonus cards for ground invasions, ground attacks, then they should be able to win regardless of how many extra cubes that the Tripolian player might have over the U.S. So in-game, I think is definitely skewed towards the U.S. for sure, but everything else, like, it's a very hard fight. The Tripolian player has a lot of things to just kind of throw monkey wrenches. Like I said, they have 3 win conditions versus the U.S. is 2 win conditions, and that just changes the dynamic of the game just from that aspect, because the U.S. has to be very careful with their giant boats, with their frigates. The U.S. also has to be very careful with making sure that they don't let the Tripolian players steal all their gold. They also may be very careful, make sure the Tripolian player doesn't build too much of a strong force here in Tripoli, because that makes the in-game push a lot harder, and it just really kind of pulls out like this interesting, like, I don't want to say even, but this interesting back and forth, where there's advantage here, and then clearly the advantage shifted, and then it shifts back, and then it goes back and forth, and you just have this game where nobody feels like they're fully out of it, even if they're mostly out of it. Like, I'm at 8 gold. I had 2 gold left before they won the game. But as long as they don't get a successful raid, as long as they don't actually take risks, then I have the ability to claw my way back into that game. As you saw, I can possibly get them to give me back 8 coins if things line up perfectly. At worst, I can have them give me back 2 coins to give me a little bit of a padding. And that I think is nice, that this game gives you that flexibility and gives you that space. So a lot of praises, a lot of kudos. I do also like the simplicity of the game, like I kept saying before. I say simplicity, and since you play a card and you do the thing, that makes this game a little bit easier to teach. It is asymmetrical, so that kind of hurts the teachability unless you really know how both sides work. And players kind of have to play a game. But one benefit of this game being as straightforward mechanically is that this game is also short. Relative to some other games that might be in its class of games, in its family games, especially if I'm considering this a war game. This is a very short war game. This game is like maybe not as short as something like Silent Victory, which I just recently played. This is more so short, like you can knock this out in 45 minutes with a teach. And I think that's pretty good. That's pretty amazing. Because you get this nice experience, you get this back and forth tug of war, you get a lot of decisions that you got to make, a lot of hard choices, and then you still have a game that you can play before everybody else shows up for your game night, or you can maybe even throw like 2 or 3 games of this if you just kind of want to go competitive, with each person switching sides to see who did better on which one, which is what the rulebook recommends how you play. Both players play both sides and see who did better on each side type situation. And I think it's just overall just a really fun game. And there is some balance that happens. Even if you know this game very well, you will have a very high chance of winning for sure, because you have knowledge of what your opponent could do. But even if you play this game very well, there are still dice involved. There's a lot of dice involved, a lot of dice rolling. And there's one time I rolled I rolled 15 dice, 16 dice, and got one hit. And I was like, wow, this is upsetting. This is very upsetting. So because it's a dice game, because you do have some of that randomness thrown into it, it does help give a little bit of a leg up for the person who's playing that's brand new to the game. It's usually recommended that the new people play the Tripolian person. Sorry, I'm trying to call it Chipotle. The Tripolian person, mostly because with that side, the win conditions are a little bit less restrictive, whereas the US is very specific, do this or this to win the game. And I think that is fair. If you're more experienced, play the US side. For the new person, play the Tripolian side. If you're both new, try both and switch, see what happens when you switch. But it's just really cool. Like I just like a lot of things about this game, and I like how compact it is. I like how compact in like time-wise it is. It's also compact in size. It does take up a little bit of table space. It's not taking up my entire table, but it's taking up a little bit more of my table than I wanted to, mostly because the board is as wide as it is. You theoretically could just put 13 spots and just call it the game, but sure, this is pretty, and this is map accurate, I'm assuming. And there's that. So that's pretty much it for the positives of the game. As far as the negatives, which is also pseudo-positive, but also still kind of negative, I don't really care for the history of this. Like, I get it. The U.S. is trying to, like, lost protections from Britain because we just won the American Revolution. At least my understanding from what the history book was telling me that this came with. And because of that, we don't have the protections from Britain. Now we got to deal with the Barbary pirates, and they're trying to fight us, and we're trying to send our navy over there. We're trying to get Congress to send us the right resources so we can fight back and get commerce. And it's like, I don't really care for that part of history, because there's no good guys in that side. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm a black American here, and as a result of that, I understand very, very well that the Barbary pirates were not just trading in commerce and money. In other words, U.S., especially in that time period. So, people were being traded. My folks were being traded back and forth. So this form of history is like, it's not that I hate it. It's just more of like I have not much of an interest in this kind of history, because it's like, hey, here's how the U.S. just got dominance in this area and was able to dominate trade and continue and fought against those pesky pirates. And it's like, yeah, those pesky pirates are just stealing your money because, you're all just stealing the land in the U.S., so they just stole your money. Anyway, political things aside, in the reality of our world aside, what I'm trying to say is that this form of history, this section of history, this segment of history, I have zero interest in. Well, the only reason why I really got this game was because it was at a secondhand game store, and the price was reasonable, and I could play it solo. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll give it a shot. And along the way, I learned about some more history, so that's really cool. Learning history is cool, even if I'm not interested in the history. But just this particular section of history doesn't really grab me. Something like Cross Bronx Expressway, that history grabs me because oh yeah, this is my form of history. Something like Fire in the Lake really grabs me. It's like, yeah, give me that form of controversial history back and forth. Something like even Mr. President grabs me more than something like this with Shores of Tripoli. But Silent Victory kind of sort of grabs me interest-wise for the history, because it's like trying to figure out how the submarines got better and stuff. That's been cool to learn about and watch videos. Watch Smarter Every Day's series of videos where he's actually on a submarine and they're explaining it. That's been fun playing that while watching that. But this is not Silent Victory. This is Shores of Tripoli. I don't care for the history, so that's a negative for me. I say slight positive because I'm learning more history, but negative because it's like bleh. This is like telling me, oh yeah, the Napoleon and the Brits were like best friends or something. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I mean, I guess I should, but I don't. Anyway, so this history doesn't really interest me. Another negative on this game is that there is a lot more swinginess than I think the people who love this game a lot want to say. Let me be very specific with my statement. There are some people who I've seen in the forums who are very strongly in favor of and enjoying this game, and kudos to you. Do your thing. I'm not gonna yuck your yum too much. I will say though that there's a lot of swinginess in this game. Sometimes when you're rolling 16 dice, I feel like I should be able to squeak out at least 3 hits, and I get 0, and it's like, what is going on? What is happening? These dice are cursed, clearly. So as a result of this game being a dice game, we have to use math rocks the whole entire time. There is a lot of swinginess that can happen. Sometimes you roll 3, you need 3 hits, and you need 3 sixes, and you get 3 sixes, like, whoa, hey, heck yeah, hit the jackpot. You feel great. You get that serotonin flowing, it feels great. But other times you roll 15 dice and you get 2 hits, and you're like, what pitiful nonsense is this? So that doesn't feel good. And another thing on the randomness of the game, the cards do come out randomly, and sometimes you really need a certain card to show up and it doesn't. Sometimes your planning could have impacted that for sure, but the reality is that nope, it's just if you didn't get the card, you didn't get the card, and as a result, you got to deal with the consequences. And there's some amount of fun that can be had from that, from being tactical and having to adapt. But the reality is that sometimes it's like, okay, come on guys, I was doing so good and then you just fell apart because I didn't get the right card at the right time, or because my opponent got the perfect card that just countered everything I did. And that feels so bad. And that can happen. I mean, this is a 1v1 game. I'm expecting some take that. I'm expecting some, I play this card that really screwed or royally screwed your entire plans, or I play this thing that now gummed up your works. So I'm expecting that, but it's just sometimes when the dice are doing it, it's like, why? Now, when my opponent plays a card that really counters me, shoot, they outsmarted, they outwitted me. I've been had. But when the dice are just like, I rolled 25 dice and only one hit, and it's like, come on, guys, come on, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Anyway, so that is my other negative there on the randomness of dice. So more of a rage against dice than it is against the game, but the game is very dice reliant, and the game also has the randomness of the cards and what order they show up in. So I will give the L to the game too. So there's that. And my last negative on this one is that I question the longevity of this game. I feel like this is a game that I almost want to say is like beer and pretzel adjacent. Like it's like war game adjacent. It's also beer and pretzel adjacent, but it's not really beer and pretzel because there's so many words on the card, which that goes into the learning side. I'll talk about that too in a second. But it's just there's only so much you can do in this game. There's only so many decisions you have to make in this game that I feel like if you and another person play this game like maybe 5 or 6 times, you have a really good understanding of what might happen, when it might happen, how things might show up. So as a result, you can turn this into a beer and pretzel game, which is, I guess, ultimately a good thing because it means that this game is simpler than some other more complicated involved systems out there. But it also just kind of, I don't know, for where this game lives in like the war game adjacency area that it kind of exists, it kind of sits in that middle ground of like not really a war game, but not really like a board game. I guess the theme is what pushes it over to the war game side, but the mechanics kind of pull it back over to the board game side. It's such a weird spot. And now I'm thinking about Votes for Women also fits in the same strange spot. And I also need to sit down and play that one too. But it also fits in that same strange spot where you're doing area control and you have the cards and it has like the hallmarks of a war game, but it's not a war game. It's something else. And it's just so weird. But this one, the history, the topic is really what's pushing over to the war game side. And then the mechanics kind of pull it back over to the non-war game side. I'm ultimately trying to say is that I feel like this game sits in a very strange place. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm including my negatives because I don't know how to put my finger on it. It's just, is this a beer and pretzels game? Is this a war game? Is this a more intense like 1v1 battler? And just to clarify, when I say beer and pretzel, I just want to be I want to define that term. For me, how I'm using it now, I'm saying beer and pretzel is basically a simple do 2 actions, like 2-3 different actions you can do, and then that's the entire game. That's your decision space. Not much to think about or strategize. You just kind of, flick them up, flick your little person around, and then they hit a thing. Oh man, I got it. Yeah. And then you drink your beer, eat your pretzel, and move on. Whereas with this one, I guess you can't really call this a beer and pretzel because there's a lot of canoodling that needs to go on with how you play your cards, when you play your cards, and what you move where. So maybe not quite beer and pretzels. I just feel that this game, I don't know. It's just, I don't know how else to say that this game should be a war game, but it's not. It's very strange. It's very strange. Okay, all right. Enough of me standing on my little soapbox there for that one. I will go back into talk about my overall feelings for the game. The overall rating that I give this game, I give this game a solid 6.5 out of 10, mostly because I question longevity of things. I don't think I mentioned. Oh, sorry, text. Sorry, let me go back to my negatives. Text. There's a lot of text on these cards. Your first time playing this game, there's a lot of text on the cards. That's going to make it a little bit harder to kind of uptake the game. Because knowing when the triggers happen and knowing why things happen is sometimes a little bit confusing. And speaking of confusing, there are also some triggers that don't quite seem consistent. So for instance, where's the card? There's a card that you can play. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So the definition of things seems a little bit loose. And again, I need to go check the forums so I can see what the clarification is on this. But cards like this, it says playable if the Philadelphia runs aground is an active event card for this turn. Roll 2 dice instead of 1 and choose the preferred action. So the assumption is that after you play this card, it has a text down here. It says that when you play this card, it goes out of the game. But it says if played as a battle card, this card is removed from the game. So what does that mean? Maybe I've missed something completely about battle cards. I thought battle cards were specifically cards that were played during battles. This one says, play about the start of a land battle, blah, blah, blah. If played as a battle card, then this card is removed from the game. Or is battle card supposed to be the representation for if you're playing it as an additional card or as an interrupt, as in you're doing a thing that this triggers, I'm playing this card to interrupt it as well. Is that considered a battle card at that point? Which is a weird definition. Why would you call it a battle card? Why not say if played as an interrupt, then do this thing? Then maybe the text works better. I don't know. Again, there's a few different ways you can solve that problem, but there's some text like that seems a little bit ambiguous, and it made it very strange because when I played against Bear, we had a situation to where Bear played a card, and I was like, okay, is an interception a battle? And the answer is, I don't think it is. I haven't checked the forums yet, but I don't think it is. But also, it might be a battle, but if it is a battle, then can I play these battle cards for it? Otherwise, I'm not playing this card as a battle card. I'm playing this card as an effect card, and it goes into my discard, right? No, that's not what it means, because the intent of this card clearly is you get this very strong ability once per game. That seems to be the intent of the card. So therefore, you play this card once per game and it goes out of the game forever. If you play it at that time and it's considered a battle card, then is that considered a battle? Is interception considered a battle? Is playing the Philadelphia runs aground, is that considered a battle? And then that's where it becomes a little bit ambiguous. Again, the rulebook might specify this a little bit better, a little bit more clearly. I just know that the question came up when Bear and I played, and I wasn't able to find the answer on my own at that time. So I'm going to defer to the forums afterwards. And I'm just mentioning here because that does fit into the negative of some of the things being a little bit more ambiguous than I think they deserve to be. And yeah, the rulebook is sufficient. I mean, I would like more pictures. I'm always a fan of having more photos, more images, but what's in here is fine. If you just read along, you'll be able to get all the rules down packed. And the sections are divided in a reasonable way, so I guess it's a pro. Anyway, okay, going back to my rating, 6.5 out of 10. So I question the longevity of this game. Once you play this game like maybe 5 or 6 times, I feel like you kind of see everything that this game could do. And unless you just really want to get that rush of winning or want to get that rush of losing or whatever feeling you get from playing this game, maybe you love the history. I don't see any purpose in revisiting this game outside of introducing it to new people who maybe are thinking about getting into wargaming and say, hey, this is a war game. This is a war adjacent game that's a little bit more board gamery than it is war game like. And this might be like a good like foot in the door game for some people. This also could be like an interesting way to kind of burn some time if it's just you and another person. I do think that the 1v1 accolades for this game is pretty strong, like especially if both players know what they're doing or they've played it a few times already. I think it's pretty strong, but I just don't know if this is going to be the 1v1 game to go to. So that's why my rating is sitting at a 6.5 instead of anything higher, because I question the longevity of this. I don't even know if you can even come up with the expansion for this, because this game is kind of locked into the history that this is talking about. Like maybe you had an expansion for like merchants, where the merchants are actually there and they betray you, or maybe you had an expansion for like, I don't know, post-war or pre-war, so you can like change the starting state a little bit. I don't know. But even with those potential additions to this game, I think this game is as complete as it's going to get. This is pretty much all you're probably going to see and get from this game, given, like I said, the span of history that it's covering and the things that it's covering and the cards that are here. I guess what I'm saying is I would love to see more variety. If I can see more variety, then I can maybe bump the game up, because I think the system is reasonable. I like the system of like moving the ships and then fighting, or moving the ships and then just kind of parking there and then attacking when they visit, when they fly through or when they try to sail through. So I think that whole system is nice and reasonable. Or you can discard cards to do some basic action. That's cool. I would like to see more of that, and maybe there is more of that. I need to go search more of Fort Circle's games. But for now, 6.5 out of 10 is all I can see, because longevity seems to be the biggest question mark for this game. Again, if you played it a few times and maybe you haven't played it in like a year, and then you bring it out with a friend who's never played it before, that could be fun, and I could see it getting some more playtime because of that. But I think for me, theme, longevity, and then kind of ultimate like learning curve, because I feel like you got to play this game at least once before you finally understand what's fully happening, and the second time you play is where you start to have fun. It feels like a little bit more of an investment. I mean, 45 minutes of learning and then actually playing the game and enjoying it afterwards, sure, that's not that unreasonable, especially considering some of the much longer games out there like World Order, Hegemony, Slay the Spire, Clash of Cultures, and all that fun stuff. Sorry, I'm just looking at my shelf over there and see those 4 games, so those are the ones I named. This seems fair, but 6.5 is where I'm going to settle. I don't know. I want to see more of the system. I don't care for the history. I don't care for the theme that is kind of wrapped around or wrapped in. it works for like showing you what's happening mechanically, and that's fine. The Swedes have betrayed me a few times, so that's also why I'm putting a 6.5 out of 10. No, I'm joking. For clarification, I always play the US in all the games I played, and there's a card that the Tripolian side has where the Swedish people will go away. Oh, actually, I drew that card during my demo. And essentially, they'll go away, but they force the US player to give the Tripolian player 2 gold as well. So you lose them, and they get 2 gold. But they can only play it at their 1803 or later. So, interesting stuff. A little bit frustrating at times, but I think overall, not a terrible experience. I'm glad I had the experience, and I'm glad it's on my shelf. It will probably live on my shelf because, like I said, I think it fits in a very specific, like, hey, this is like an introductory to style game. This is like a stepping stone game that I might use for some people to try to get into some more complicated or more involved stuff later on. But even then, at that point, I don't think there's any other game that I had that mechanically fits or mechanically does what this one does. So this one's unique in its own right. So I'll give it credit for that. But it's just going to live on my shelf as long as I have space for it, is what I'm trying to say. So I have no intentions of getting rid of this game. I do enjoy it. 6.5 out of 10 is pretty low for me personally. Just to clarify, a lot of my games that I think are just kind of meh are 6.5. Things that are higher than that are probably doing a little bit better. So 6.5, this game's a meh, like a mid game for me, but it is a mid game that I don't hate playing. Not that I've played mid games that I hated playing. So if somebody really wants to play this game or they like this form of history, I might try it out with them for sure and just like teach them and show them. Straightforward enough. Doesn't sit on the table too long. I don't feel like it overstays its welcome. The dice sometimes don't dice for you. That's frustrating, but it happens in a dice game. And yeah, that's basically it. So that's going to be it for my review there of the Shores of Tripoli. 6.5 out of 10 is my final rating, and I have a lot of good things to say about it, and I have some meh things to say about it, but my rating ultimately falls into the I doubt this game has staying power, and I don't know, I guess I expected more of like an involved war game, and I got a much more simple, watered down version of it, which is fine. It's just, I don't know, expectations did not match the reality, and that's on my own fault. So that affected the score. I guess I can bump it up to a 7 just so I can be nice, but no, 6.5. I'm sticking with 6.5. All right, so that's gonna be it for this video though. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please let me know what you all think of the game and if you all have any intentions of playing it yourself. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all whenever.